Hi guys, it's Jordan from B&P Campers. Just going to do your handover video on your Voyager motorhome. So if we start under the bonnet over here, obviously it's the Mercedes based vehicle, so a nice big chunky engine in here. You've got your brake fluid attached to the servo just down the back, just there. ABS pump is that one just down there. Your engine coolant sits in this reservoir just here at the front, and you can see now it's just at the maximum line and the engine is cold, so that's exactly at the right place. Engine oil gets topped up through this little cap just here at the top of the engine, just there, and your engine oil dipstick is this one with a red cap just here at the top. Your air filter and the air sort of inlet is up here in this box up here, so air filter sits inside, air goes down into the engine. What else have we got? We've also got your washer fluid just over here on the right. A few bits and pieces. These pipes down here usually mean that there's air going into the cab, into the van, sorry. So sometimes there's ways of sort of heating the van up via the engine heater matrix, but I'm not sure if this one has that or not. But yeah, you go. The engine battery positive terminal, I think that should be up here actually. Yeah, somebody's knocked that off at some point. There you go. So your positive for your engine battery is this just here. So if you wanted to jump start the van, positive goes on there, and usually I personally I'd put the negative on this engine hoisty part just down here. So whoever was touching this has been a bit heavy-handed on the service, but there you go. So so positive terminal for your engine battery there, negative down there. There probably is a factory negative terminal somewhere, but I know that one there works perfectly well. I believe this one down here is for your power steering. Yeah, so that's power steering. It's a manual van, so there's no transmission oil to check, and yeah. So that's that front of the bonnet. To actually release the bonnet, I'll just show you. It's just in here in the passenger door, and you've got your bonnet release lever just down there. So as for the passenger side, there's not a huge amount of show. I'll show you a few bits when we jump in on the other side. I'll show you a few bits around the cab, but as for this side, not really a huge amount apart from that bonnet release. Your diesel filling point is this one just in here. You need your ignition key to go in there and turn that to open that up. Storage underneath here, so it's a very nice amount of storage. You have got this locker underneath here, by the way. I don't know if you noticed before, but that entire locker comes out all the way towards you. Your boiler locker is this one here next to the boiler vent, so if you had the boiler lit up on gas, you'd be able to feel hot air coming out through the bottom of this vent just here. So again, not a huge amount to show you. The boiler itself just sort of does its own thing. I mean, I'll show you how to use it on the inside, obviously, but there's not, you don't need to know much about it in here, except from this part just inside here is your boiler drain. So it has got a little diagram on top showing you, but you need to have this in the upright position, so it's as far up as it can go, basically. So if I push down on this now, all the water from the boiler starts to drain out. So the only thing you need to know about this, really, obviously that's what I just showed you. If you want to drain it out, just push it down. But when the temperature gets towards sort of like the minus temperatures, kind of 3-4 degrees, that kind of temperature, this will drop out on its own. It's what they call an automatic dropout valve, and what it does is it stops any water inside the boiler from freezing up and expanding and sort of breaking pipes and things like that, because obviously remember there's quite a bit of pressure inside the boiler and things. So if you want to do something about that, you can put something around it to stop it dropping out. A Jubilee clip or something like that normally does it quite well, but that's up to you. All right, so that's how you drain the boiler out if you want to. Toilet cassette locker is this one just here. Taking the cassette out, lift up on this little yellow tab at the bottom and then pull the entire thing towards you. You've got a little yellow tab at the very back there, so when you're emptying it out, which obviously is from this cap just here at the front, you need to hold that little yellow button down whilst emptying. and then it just goes back in. Just push it all the way back. You've got a fresh water flush in here, so you haven't got to worry about any flush fluid or anything like that above the actual cassette. So as long as you've got a little bit of water in your fresh tank, you'll be able to use your toilet whenever, you know, where and whenever you are. Fresh water inlet is this one just up here. So push in and round to the right to get that to close up, and then you can put your key in there and turn it and lock it if you want to. And then this side is just literally just storage. To be honest, there's not much to show you. You have got a locker on the very back of the van, which allows you to get in here a little bit easier if you've not got access to the sides, which a lot of vans don't have, but there you go, that's that. So onto the offside, driver's side, you got your gas locker down here. So you've got two 6 kilo propane bottles in here, and they're the lights, is what they call them. So not much to show you really, again, but you've got two brand new pigtails, 2021 date on those, so you've got till 26 to replace those really. You've got an auto changeover up here, so you see, you probably can't see it on the actual video, but it does say automatic changeover on the top. And so basically when you turn these bottles off, and you know, before you start driving and stuff like that, this will turn to a red colour. Where it's green, it'll go red. So when you turn these back on, it should make a little bit of a whooshing noise and then turn green again, and that just shows you that you've got gas coming through. These bits down here, the yellow little turny bit down there, is just for our sort of testing purposes, so you don't need to worry about any of that. Literally all you need to know is turning the bottle on is anti-clockwise around to the left, like that, and then turning it off is clockwise round to the right. And you've also got this, which I've never seen before, to be honest, is this locker that you can actually pull all the way out so you can get to the bottles really easily. It's so handy to have that, and then just push it all the way back like that, and then this little bit locks it in place. The next cupboard next to that, you got all of your electronical parts. So you've got an inverter just down here. You've got your actual EBL unit, so that's your power supply unit, with all of your fuses in here. So every single fuse has got a little word above it. It is in German, but there's a little word above it telling you exactly what it does and, you know, where it's sort of routed to. So it's an EBL 220, so that's the biggest, you know, pretty much, well, I'm not sure if it's the biggest, but a lot bigger than the usual ones. So you've got a lot more fuses on here. Pretty much, you know, anything you can think of is kind of fuse and safe. You've also got your, this is probably a D+, oh no, solar regulator. So your solar panel up on the roof, I would imagine, was fitted from standard, because a lot of the sort of solar bits and pieces, there's actually a button on the control panel for your solar. So it's all really handy and easy to get to, basically. So yeah, that's it down there. Not much else to show you in there. I'll show you where your trips are on the inside of the van, but I will also show you, I believe, just down here, if I can get the key out in one hand, I believe down here is your leisure battery, or is it on the inside? I can't remember. Oh no, there you go. So 2 leisure batteries down here. They look to me, yeah, so they've not got any of the holes on the top, so they're probably like a gel battery or something similar to that. Carbon fibre monoblock battery. Honestly, I don't really know what that means, but I know that they're, you know, very good batteries. They're in there at the moment, and obviously, you know, plenty of power in them because we've got everything on at the moment, and it's all working as it should. Having the couple of fuses down here, and obviously the solar panel is constantly chucking power down to the batteries themselves, keeping them topped up. This lever here is slightly different to the rest of them, in that you have to just turn it like this whilst you push it in, and then it closes itself like that. So that's that. Your external gas point is this one just here. So you literally just pop this little cap off, and then when you've plugged something into it, like a barbecue point or whatever, you can turn this here, and then it'll allow gas to come through. don't have to use that if you don't have, you know, if you don't want anything to external gas wise, then you don't have to, but it's just there if you need it. Your hookup point is this one just here, so that's really handy. If you've got access to a hookup cable, it's really good to use this every now and again at least, just to keep the batteries topped up if anything else. But to be honest, even just taking the van for a nice long drive will keep the batteries topped up enough, so that's up to you. But obviously it'll also give you access to using all of your 240 volt appliances. You know, I'll show you all of that sort of stuff on the inside, but it'll give you access to all of that, and yeah, it is handy. A couple of bits on the offside in this big locker. You've got your spare wheel just inside here. External, well, kind of external shower point. So if you wanted to sort of wash your boots off, wash your dog off, whatever, then you can do so just from there. Your, I think that's your wastewater drain. So if I just turn that, so you've got water coming out from in there. Yeah, so that's that. And your water pump itself sits just inside here. All right, so that's all of that. Okay, so I'll show you around on the inside now. I did the sanded this off and sort of refinished it, so that looks all right now, nice and smooth. I know the sort of the lacquer on it had sort of started to come off a little bit. I actually haven't put any lacquer on top of it because I thought with that much use and, you know, that many hands going on it, I think it's just going to start going wrong again if I put a load of lacquer on it. So I've just basically put a stain on it, but it's nice and smooth now, so that should be good. Okay, so probably the best way to do it would be to start up here on the control panel. So it does say the Voyager on it, but you know, it's a different company that actually makes them. I can't remember what the company's called off the top of my head, but that's your control panel up there. This button just here isn't for your step, it is a step switch, but your step one is down here, so that's that one there. But this one up here is for your electric overcab bed. So we've changed the regulator inside this because the old one was just kind of cracking and not working. So if I just show you, I'll just press down on the button at the moment, and then the entire bed comes down. A good point to sort of show you is that you do need to make sure that you have the I'll just switch over to normal camera. You do need to make sure that this is in the upright position, closed, because if you go all the way down, it'll basically get stuck. So you need to make sure that they're both in the upright position, just like this one over here. So that's the overcab bed, and then obviously just put it back up, pushing it up. Just literally pushes the bed all the way up. And if you want to, when you get to that point up here, you oh no, maybe not, thinking of something else, don't worry. There you go. Right, so the control panel itself is nice and simple. So it's on at the moment, and I can go through and I can check the battery voltages by clicking on this battery symbol. So 94% in the Leisure battery. And I know it's a Leisure battery it's doing is because it's the battery in the back of the van symbol up there. 12.4 volts, so that's a very, very good resting battery rate. Now the engine battery, 12.4 as well. And then just showing you there's an amp and a half coming in from the solar panel. Same. Oh, all right, okay, so that means that the engine battery and the solar and the Leisure are being charged up by the solar at the same time. So as long as you're outside, you've got a little bit of sun on the van, you'll be able to start your van up whenever. There'll always be plenty of charge in it. And your water, so press this button just here, that's a fresh water, so you've got 25% fresh water and no waste. All right. If I wanted to turn the 12 volt power off, I'll just press this button down here and that'll turn anything 12 volt off. Over here, you've got a couple of bits. Oh, if I come off that a sec, I'll wait for it to go off. Basically, it's nothing interesting. You basically you just go through. There's a couple more levels and things that you can see, I believe, but yeah, not a huge amount. It's more so for if you go onto the menu, you can set the time and set timers and things like that. So these buttons are more for that kind of thing. But yeah, so that's your control panel. Over to the right, you've got a few other bits and pieces that are really handy. So you've got Your TV isolator switch, so anything sort of TV related, you need to have this button in the on position to have that working. External light is that one just there, and your pump switch is that one just there. All right, so if I just show you, I'll get onto the boiler stuff just here in a minute, but when you first come into the van, the absolute first thing you want to do, if you want to sort of prolong the life of it, you know, your pump and your boiler and things like that inside the van, absolute first thing you want to do is come in here, make sure that you got a little bit of fresh water in your tank, and also make sure that your boiler switch is in the upright position rather than the down. Come over to your control panel and press your pump switch on. Come over to your tap and then just pull the hot water. Pump kicks in like it's just done there. I don't know if you can hear it on the video. Pump kicks in and then I'll switch it off. So because I've already been in here a little bit, you know, about 15-20 minutes ago, and got the entire system up to pressure already, and I'll switch that off now that I'm not using it, that's proven to me that the boiler is full. All right, but I'll just, for example, just because it's a good example, when I got to the van to do the video, the boiler had dropped the water out. So when I put the pump on in here and assumed that it wasn't, I pulled the tap and no water came through for about 2 or 3 minutes. So then I realised that there must be no water in the boiler, and that the boiler dropout that I showed you must have been in the open position down. And when I went round there, it was, but it wouldn't go up, it wouldn't stay up. So what that means is that the boiler's thermostat assumes that the temperature is too low to allow you to fill the boiler up. All right. So to counteract that or get around that, what I did was I turned the heating on its own, which is this one just here. Waited about 5 minutes, and then what happens is the boiler basically warms up and it tricks it into thinking that it's warmer than it actually is. So then you can lift up the boiler dropout valve outside and it will stay up. But once you've lifted it up and it stays up, then you can go ahead and do that and just make sure that your boiler is full. All right, so that's that, nice and simple. I say that it's not really that simple, but when you get the hang of it, it is simple. It's nice and easy. So making sure that your boiler dropout valve is in the upright position. If it doesn't go up in the upright position, pop your heating on its own for a minute in that one just there, the little flame symbol. Leave it and then try it again. All right. So point I was making was, if you want to prolong the life of your boiler and your pump and stuff like that, make sure that you come in here, ensure that your boiler is full of water before you start trying to heat the water up, because if you don't, you know, things will start to get too hot and wires can burn out and things like that. So really important to make sure of that. But once you've done that, once you've made sure that your boiler is full and it's in the upright position, you can do whatever you like. Don't worry about anything at all, and you'll be good. So I will show you the boiler stuff next. Sorry if it's a bit shaky, it's just a bit high up, so I can't really hold the camera and it's a bit awkward. But okay, so the idea is, and there is paperwork for this, this is probably the thing that most people struggle with, I would say. But it's not actually difficult, it's just a little bit awkward to get your head around at the start sometimes. So on the left hand side here where it says Trumatic C, that is your boiler, that's what tells your boiler what to do basically. All right, so if I went up to 40 degrees, I'll just push the bed down a bit. If I went up to 40 degrees or up to 60 degrees, that means 40 degrees of hot water or 60 degrees of hot water. All right, so no heating at all. Up is just hot water only. And back in the old days, they would call that your summer setting, because there's no heating, there's just hot water. All right, so just for that sake, I'll just put it back into the off position, go up one, you get a little orange light come on, which means your water is heating up, and it will heat the water up to 40 degrees. All right, or 60, whichever one you want. So that's hot water only, up. If you want heating only, you go down one, and then after sort of 5-10 minutes, you'll have hot, you know, the van will be warm. And if you want both heating and hot water, you go all the way down to the heating symbol and the hot water symbol at 60 degrees. The dial in the middle, you don't really have to worry about that too much. Just leave it where it is, sort of 6 or 7, 8, that's perfectly fine. Back off in the middle, and that's that. So that's telling your boiler what to do. Hot water and heating, heating only, off, 40 degrees of hot water, 60 degrees of hot water. All right. So that's telling your boiler what to do. This one to the right of that, Trumatic CEH, is basically your energy selector for the boiler. So whatever you tell it to do is this one here, and the way that it works and what energy it uses, either gas or electric, is this one over here. So the position it's in now, right in the middle, you see you've got a little gas flame. That's gas only. All right. So where I have it now, so if I go down one and leave this one where it is, I'm going to have heating only on gas only. If I had a hookup plugged in, I could go up one or up two, and I'd have heating only on electric only. Or if I had gas and electric plugged in, I could go down one or down two. So now I'd have heating only on gas and electric. All right. So if I leave it in the middle, it's all just gas only. If I go up, it's all electric only. If I go all the way down, it's gas and electric at the same time. So I hope that makes sense. Telling the boiler what to do on the left, telling it how to use, what energy to use on the right. Most people just leave it here on the gas symbol, unless you have no gas whatsoever and you do have a hookup, then you would go up. But like I said, most people just leave it on the gas. I'll switch that off, and that's it. That's the entire boiler system switched off. So you don't have to marry those two up or anything like that. Like I said to you, it is literally just telling the boiler how to work on the right, telling it what to do on the left. So I hope that makes sense. Right, you've got a 3-burner hob over here. I don't feel like I need to show you any of those working because it is literally as simple as igniter and push in and turn to the left for whichever burner you want to be lit. It is as simple as that. So yeah, you've got a thermocouple on the back of each of these, which is this little prong of metal at the back. Every gas appliance in this entire motorhome has got a thermocouple on it, and they should all have been checked as part of the habitation check to make sure that they work. So what they do is, if you light one of these up, whichever one it is, the thermocouple recognises burning gas and it continues to allow the gas to come through the burner. If the flame gets blown out by something or someone, and you haven't turned this dial back to the off position, gas will obviously continually just pump out even though it's not lit. But what the thermocouple does is it recognises that, and it will stop that from happening after about sort of 10-15 seconds or so. So basically you can't fill the van up with unburned gas. So that's what they do. So yeah. Down here we got your oven / grill. So the grill is obviously at the top here. Push in and your ignition starts up straight away. So you haven't got to press any other buttons to actually light it up. Push in and round to the right for the grill, and that just lights up like that. The only thing I'll point out with the grills, because they are sort of long ways like that and they only got one ignition on this left hand side, sorry, sometimes you'll find obviously this side will always light up first, but on the other side there's all these little holes on the other side as well. So sometimes you'll find that it will light up on this side but it won't quite reach around to the other. So you just need to try it a couple of times just to make sure that it does go through, and sometimes just giving it a little blow in there. There you go. So you see there on the bottom, both sides are now lit. And the reason that's so important to do is because your thermocouple actually sits, oh actually not on this model, thermocouple is just there in the middle, see? All right, just chatting rubbish. So that's that. So you can see that there's both lit on both sides if you look at the bottom, and I'll switch it off. And that goes off nicely. And then in around to the left for the oven, which is at the back. So that comes straight on like that. All right. So there you go. Switch that off. Sometimes if you've had this on for a little while, it is sometimes an idea to just leave the door open for a minute, just to let it all sort of cool down. But yeah, that's got a little travel safety catch on there, so you can't pull it open without lifting this up like that. Underneath there is also quite important. So on the left hand side here you've got your gas isolator taps. So again, it is all in French on the right hand side telling you what they are, but you can kind of work it out. The top one's the oven, second one down is the grill, the hobs, third one down is the boiler, and the bottom one is the fridge. You will have a couple more dotted around, actually. Not sure exactly where they are as we speak, but there will be one for the external gas point. So yeah, wherever that is, there will be one. TV locker. You've got your TV aerial up here, which is a tilt and turn aerial. So you literally undo this bit at the top here and then just push it up and turn it to where it needs to be. Depending on, if you know where it needs to be, then great. But if not, sometimes if you're at a campsite, you can just copy everyone else's, depending on where they are. TV aerial booster is this one up here. You can switch that off just down there on the bottom right hand side, whilst you're not using it. So that's that. Okay, fridge is the next most important bit, really. Well, it's very important, actually. So you've got an AES fridge. So you see there, automatic energy selection. In my opinion, the auto button down here is completely pointless. It's so lazy to to do that. It's so easy just to come through here and just turn it once. And also, if you leave it on auto, you might find that at some point it'll choose the wrong one. The wrong energy, and you'll not realise until it's too late and everything's still hot. So at the moment the gas is on, which I showed you down there. I've not got a hookup cable plugged in and the engine isn't running, so I've chosen gas. All right, and to choose gas and to actually light it up on gas, you do literally just turn this to this here. So if I switch it off now, the fridge is completely off. If I want to light it up on gas, there you go, that's lit. So it's as simple as that. This dial on the right hand side is only really relevant, you can just leave it at the maximum sign. It's only really relevant in the absolute hottest part of summer. If you find that you're trying to light the gas up and it won't quite light up, you can turn this dial all the way down to the 0. Try it again, it should light up, and then once it is lit, turn it back around to maximum. If there was a hookup plugged into the van, I personally would choose the hookup symbol. The gas is probably the quickest way of getting the fridge cold. The 240 volt is pretty close by it, but it's just, for me, I just prefer, if you've got a hookup plugged in, just use that because there's already power there. You can't really use too much hookup unless the only reason you'd ever do that is if you were plugged into a 10 amp pole at your campsite, for example, and you had a hairdryer plugged in and a kettle plugged in, and you wanted to use your boiler on electric and things like that. You do sometimes have to have a little workout and make sure that you're not going to use too much power for what you're plugged into. But if you've got hookup availability, I would just recommend to leave it on the hookup, because if you're using gas, you're physically using all the gas from your bottles, And to be fair, having the 2 bottles down there, 6 kilos, so 12 kilos of propane will last you a hell of a long time, but it is still using the gas. If you've got a hookup plugged in, it is just, I just personally think you might as well just use it on the hookup. And then lastly, if you have your engine running or you're driving, you want to have it down here on this battery symbol. So basically the idea is get the fridge cold first with everything in it, all your stuff inside it, get it all nice and cold. Sometimes it's easier to say get it cold the night before you go away, because that way it's definitely all going to be nice and cold inside and then ready for the morning. But yeah, basically you need to get the fridge cold first, either via the gas or the electric hookup. Reason being, the gas and the electric are the only ones that will get the fridge cold on their own, and then switch it down to the 12 volt symbol here just for when your engine's running. So that's that. I will show you, if you want to use the auto button, that's fine, and it's normally okay. But just for example, if you leave it down on auto and you get to a campsite, turn your engine off, sometimes it can get a little bit confused and try to stay on 12 volt even though the engine's running, and it won't be working. All right, so then you'll start getting a little fault code coming up here, and basically the fridge won't be cooling and doing anything. So if you can literally just I mean, it's not hard, is it? Just to, just to turn from gas to electric, or from electric to 12 volt. It's not hard. So I would advise you just to do that, but it's up to you. Switch it off, and that's it. So I know I mentioned it already, but obviously make sure that you switch your gas off before you start driving anywhere, ever. That's really, really important. So yeah. Okay, so in the sort of bathroom area back here, we've got the separate shower over here on the off side of the van. You have got a light up here, which is good. And I believe this is for sort of hanging clothes up in. So if you've got wet clothes, obviously you hang it in here rather than getting any other parts of the van wet. So that's that. Nice and straightforward. You literally just got a little mixer tap down there, so you just turn it to wherever you want it after you've heated your water up. And that's that. You then also got your actual toilet, sort of toiletry area. Again, nice and simple on the tap front. It is just literally a mixer tap. The toilet, a couple of things to show you, but not a lot. To actually empty it into the cassette, you open this up like that. So that's open and that's closed. And your flush button is the blue button just over the back. And like I said to you before, it is literally just fresh water. So as long as you've got a little bit of fresh water in your tank, you'll be able to use your flush on your toilet. It's really important to make sure that you leave this in the closed position when you're not using it. Because one, you get really bad smell coming into the van if you don't. And two, you won't be able to take the cassette out from outside. If it's in this position here, the cassette is locked up and it's locked in place. You will not be able to take it out. So you need to make sure that you close it over like that. Down here you've got some storage, nice little sort of folding out cupboard like that. And on the other side, it's a bit more important, is your RCD and MCBs. So if anything 240 volt was to trip, it would trip from there, and so that's, you know, your first port of call. If you plug a hook up into the van and nothing's working, no plug sockets are working, the fridge isn't working on 240, the boiler, whatever, just come in here and have a little check in here, make sure they're all in the upright position. Obviously let us know if you get any problems, but that's just a first port of call. If you're away on holiday, obviously you want to have it fixed whilst you're there, so you can have a little check in there, you know, for yourself first if you want to. The electric bed switch is this one just down here, just like the one over the cab. So it comes all the way up. So that's the back of the bed going up, and then comes all the way back down. Don't know if you can see it on the video. So that's that. Really, really nice quality van. So yeah. Right, I did say I was going to do it at the start, so I'll do it now because I forgot. But the cab is really, really nice, and obviously being Mercedes, really high quality, really nice thing to drive. I mean, I've driven this myself a few times now, and you know, they're sort of second to none really. The Mercedes is just so nice to drive. You've got a double din Alpine head unit just here, which to be honest I've not personally used, but you know, I'm sure it's okay. A paper clip if you want to hold some paper there. It's mainly just because these kind of vans are sort of built for delivery drivers and things like that, so that's there if you need it. All of this sort of stuff in here is all your climate control. You have got air conditioning. This is like a rest switch for the aircon, so you can kind of switch it off from there. Otherwise, if you have it down on cold, the aircon will just work basically. Outer lights just down there. It's a manual 6-speed gearbox in here. Reverse is in a bit of a funny place, just in case you didn't know. It's not difficult to get into, but lift up on the bottom here, and it's over and down to the bottom left for reverse. It does say it just on there anyway. 6-speed gearbox, so all the way through to 6th gear, and obviously being on the motorway and sort of long distance cruising, it's really handy to have that 6th gear. Lights over here on this stalk here, so the first one is side lights, and the next is obviously main beam. And you've got electric adjusting mirrors just here, so you basically choose which mirror you want to move and then just turn it accordingly. Bit of storage underneath here, so if you had bottles or anything like that for while you're driving, really handy to have that in there. Yeah, so I think that's about all I can show you, to be honest. you've got swivel seats in here, so lift this up and the entire chair will swivel round so that you can kind of be in the sort of seating area up here at the front. But yeah, so I think I've shown you everything I can. If you think there's anything I've missed out or anything you want covering over again, whatever at all, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon to collect your van. Thanks very much.